Good morning. Anybody ever stay at a Motel 6? I do. I do. You know, one of the gigs that I had, and I've had many of them, I used to sell these annuities, wills, and trust. You know, they're money, right? And I had the southeastern kind of block. So you're talking about Tennessee and Alabama, and you know, you go down in Arkansas, maybe a little Mississippi, and different places like that. And I would travel, and being down on those, if you ever driven in the South in the back roads, anybody ever did that? It's dark, ain't it? It gets so dark you get scared. And then you realize you're in the South. You pray that your car don't stop. You know what I'm saying? And then if your needle tends to get close to E and you miss the last place you could have stopped for some gas, you really know it as the next sign will say 20-something miles away. And you drive it, don't stop on me. But the other thing I remember about those is I was out there and I was selling annuities and everything. I would put on these big seminars and then go in an area and then go to the homes in that area and follow up on the presentation, if you will. And Motel 6 was my friend. Because when you're on the back roads, there ain't no Marriotts, there ain't no Hyatts, ain't no Sheratons, ain't no Doubletrees, ain't none of that. It's just dark. And they got little hotels and motels that you can't see unless you can find the light of that motel. And you're riding on. The one thing I liked about Motel 6, they're true to their word. They always leave the light on for you. And I will be there. This morning, I want to continue into our series that we started last week. And the series, for those of you that may not have paid attention, please catch it this time. It is a life shaped by the cross. Jesus paid a price that was so much that none of us could ever repay. All we can do is follow him. And that means, according to 1 John chapter 2 and verse 6, that if we claim to be in him, then we must walk as Jesus walked. That means our life is to be shaped by the cross. The whole New Testament is about Jesus. Most of it anyway, about what he did, what it took. There's particular passages in Matthew called the Sermon on the Mount. This is sometime after Jesus went on the mountain. He was tempted. You know, we know he made it through every temptation. The Bible says every way he was tempted. So he relates to you and me this morning. There's nothing that you are going through. There's nothing that you have gone through that Jesus does not understand. You know, I think that's a problem though today, because sometimes, you know, we can say that to one another, you just don't understand. But I think the mistake that we've made is we say to Jesus, you don't understand. And what that means is that we have forgotten the cross in which he was so horribly and brutally crucified on. Now, none of us have sacrificed or gone through that kind of ordeal. None of us. And remember this about Jesus, that he went through this ordeal not under his divine power and rule, but as a man. So he had to suffer. So even when he was offered, you know, something to dull and ease his pain, he said no. He suffered so that we would understand that he understands. So our lives should be shaped by what we say, we believe. Anybody agree with me on that? I'm a Christian, so my life should be shaped in every area of my life as a Christian. There's not like even Motel 6, you know, where if you rent a room there, your room is off limit to the other patrons. No, we can act like that our room or our life or some area in our life is off limits. God has full access to every area. And when he speaks to it, he is speaking to every area of our lives. So this series is important that you get, because your life must be shaped by the cross. I've always said this: people are not what they say. People are what they do. We know, we see it all day, and maybe we've even been party to it, of the claim, declaring that horn, blowing, I'm a Christian, but our life does not show that. For us as disciples, you know, most people, if you say you're a disciple, they say, no, you're not a disciple. You weren't one of those ones, you know, those 12 or so with Jesus. They don't really understand it. But a disciple is a Christian. A disciple and a Christian are the same thing. When you say the disciples, now you're talking about the ones with Jesus. But the Bible speaks to us over and over and calls us disciples of Christ. The word Christian, most of you know, is only used a few times, but that the word disciple is used predominantly. A life shaped by the cross. Last week we talked about, in order to begin this life shaped by the cross, you must have your what? Anybody remember? Your what? Okay, I got some of them. You got your birth certificate today. You know, when I'm traveling sometime in other countries, they'll come up a police car or some type of military and different things. Say, let me see your documents. And no matter if you have those documents or not, if you don't have them on you, it's the same thing as not having them, and you will be taken in if your documents are required. If Jesus showed up today, do you have your spiritual birth certificate? Do you have it? Have you been born in the water and spirit? John 3. Yes. Repented of your sins, been baptized for the forgiveness of those sins. You've made that decision to make Jesus Lord of your life and to follow him. And him explicitly. Is that you this morning? I pray so, because you got to have a spiritual birth. You got to have a new birth. You can't bring your old self into the kingdom of God. Your old self has no place in the kingdom of God. You bring a new spirit. Romans 6 says, just as Jesus was crucified and he was buried and resurrected through the waters of baptisms, we are. And we share and participate in that, so that we have a new life. When you have a new life, you have that spiritual birth certificate, you have a new light. A new light. You ever, you see the difference when someone is with God, there's a light. There's no shame. There's a boldness. There's a great zeal and a great joy at being saved. I shared with you last week. For a couple of weeks, I don't feel like I had that kind of light. I was down. I had to pray my way out. I had to get with God. I had to cry out and be with God on it. Well, I'm glad he turned my light back on. But I see in some of your eyes this morning, he need to turn your light on. Or you need to get the light. Or change the bulb or something. I just want to kind of admonish you a little bit, if I may, before I go on, because I'm trying to encourage you in this message a lot. But I want to admonish you, when you come to church to really give, be on fire. You don't walk up in there laid all smooth. You know, you get ready to worship God. Did you get ready to worship this morning? Or was it another ritual thing that we may have done as we grew up? We go to church. And what you going to do after church? Go do something to eat. And then go home to sleep, and then get up Monday and act like a heathen. We come into the house of God prepared to worship. When we gather, guys, we're in the house of God. We're in the house of God. And there's no one sitting here today that even has a right to be. It is simply the grace and the mercy of God. I'm here today in spite of me. Because God is good. Do you feel him this morning? See, when you have your spiritual birth certificate, when you've been reborn again, and when you have that, you ever looked at a baby, how lively? You have a different light. So my message today is your light on? Is your light on? I want to welcome everybody here today that's here visiting with us. Prayerfully you see the light of our Christians. We'll be studying out of Matthew 5, using verses predominantly 14 through 16. The one thing I like about Jesus, as I say all the time, is I love me some Jesus. I love Jesus. I can't get enough of talking about him. I know today's Christianity has been turned into self-help, what you can get, how to make money even. You know, but that ain't the Jesus I see. That's not my Jesus. My Jesus is so much more than what we have lowered him to be. My Jesus is worth worshiping. My Jesus is worth dying for, as he already did for me. But one of the things I love about him is how simple he makes everything. Jesus makes everything simple. We tend to complicate things, don't we? We tend to make it more than what it really is. Even with trials and tribulations, you know, it's like a unique affair that's happening that no one else is experiencing when you're going through something, right? My situation, both y'all can get shot, but my shot is different. You know, I think the diameter of the bullet was different or something, but mine is different. You don't understand my pain. You know, I was cheated on and she was cheated on, but no, I was cheated on differently. As though cheating is not cheating. You know, I was robbed. They were robbed. Oh, no. They took something more valuable to me than they took from them, as though their valuables don't mean nothing to them. We make things very complicated. Jesus keeps it simple. And that's why Jesus, in Matthew 28, when he gives us this great commission to do, he makes things very simple there. It is boiled down to this. We are to become disciples of Jesus who makes disciples for Jesus. Hello? Is your light on? If Jesus is worth knowing, he is worth following. He is worthy of those who know him and follow him to lead others to know him and follow him. This helps simplify the mission of our whole church worldwide. It's to make disciples of this world. I've shared with you over and over. You can do many things in life, but if you don't do the purpose for your life, it's the same as trying to boil water in a styrofoam cup. The cup was never meant to stand the heat, and so it melts away, and that inside of it is lost. Yours and my life, because the purpose of our life, and let me get this, I got to camp here for just a second. Your purpose is not to accumulate worldly possessions, accolades, influence, or any of that. As our society continues to change and the pressure on the very existence of man continues to get tougher, we get distracted that we think even our survival is the priority. What good is it that a man gains the whole world and yet forfeits his very self? What would it be that I make it through this life, I survive through this life, I even thrive in this life from a worldly perspective, but don't thrive from a spiritual one? At the end of that life, what have I truly gained? My grandmother lived to be well over 100 and something years old, and she used to pull me in the room all the time, and I'd be going, "Grandma, you old." She was in her 80s as I knew her. She's old. Her and my grandfather were the first black and white persons married in Mobile, Alabama. I had a carbon copy thing, you know, that old paper when they used to take the register notes. But she used to pull me in that room and she said, "Boy," I would tell her she old, and she would say, "No matter how long you live, life is short. You make the most of yours, young man." What good is it for us to gain the world and not gain eternity. Is your light on? And it starts with your spiritual birth certificate. Jesus said this. Let's pick up on our reading in Matthew 5. The question is your light on comes from that same Sermon on the Mount. And by the way, if your zeal or your zest has waned a bit, the Sermon on the Mount found in Matthew 5, 6, and 7 is very good to go and reread and reflect on. It really is the first principles of being a Christian. We have our first principle, teach us how to become one. I'm talking about being one, living as a citizen in God's kingdom. See, a citizen of the kingdom has a characteristic of that kingdom, and that kingdom has a characteristic of that king. Do you have the character of Jesus? Is your light on? Verse 14 says, you are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Why do you think Jesus chose this particular metaphor to talk about this truth? The truth is, physical life would be impossible without light. It is the sole source of food when it generates, must have light. For all living organisms on this earth, even if a child is born early, he is placed in an incubator where there's warmth and there's light on that child. Plants require it. You'd have no plant life food without the synthesization of plant life. And from these plants, animals get their required food. You have no plants, you have no food for your animals. And we depend on plants and animals for our food. That is not to mention, you need light to recognize color, to recognize beauty, if you cannot see. Without light, heat would be different. You think it's cold out when you go outside and it's sunny. If it was dark, it would be worse. I remember playing basketball one year in Helsinki, Finland. And Helsinki spends, like 3-4 months in complete darkness. And it'll spend another part of the year in complete light. It's just the way it turns and how it reflects on the axis of the earth, the sun. And so you can go through, a time period where it's 2 in the morning and it's sunny as it is right now. And so they buy us all these kind of curtains and things. Because, the Americans, we come, so I get some sleep. But they're used to it, but they do it. But then when it gets dark, it could be 12 in the afternoon. And you got to turn your lights on to drive. Now, you know one thing about Finland? Y'all think it's cold here. Oh, you ain't seen cold until you see a land without light. But that's why the world spiritually is so cold. It's so dark. It is so dark. Jesus gives us one of the biggest compliments that he could ever give us. He says, you are the light of the world. He is talking to disciples. You are the light, the life source, the eternal life source of the world. Have you ever thought about that as you walk your walk on a daily basis? Point number 1, do you see the light in you? Do you see the light in you? Now it's interesting, and it would be strange, because in John chapter 8 and verse 12, when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. You hear Jesus saying that he's the light of the world. Now he's saying you're the light of the world. Which one is true? They both are. See, when he's talking about the light, he's talking about himself. He is the true light of the world. But a true disciple of Jesus has the light within him. And he wants you to let him, the light, shine through you. The light that we're to shine is not brought about by ourselves, and we didn't create it. It's a regeneration of a new soul, a new person that is happening by your conversion, by your spiritual birth certificate. And now that light called the Holy Spirit that resides inside of you is to be a light to the world. Is your light on? Is your light on? Now we're going to talk about that in a minute. Is your light on? Now, an interesting thing here when Jesus is talking, he is not talking to, he's up in Galilee here, so he's not talking to the generals of Rome. He's not talking to, the PhDs of Alexandria somewhere. He is talking to fishermen, farmers, wage workers, everybody. He's not saying there's only a few of you that the light of the world is. He says everybody. You, everybody. Sometime, why do we think our life is so insignificant? Maybe we haven't looked at our spiritual birth certificate in a while. Maybe you've put more value in a degree or certificate or diploma than your spiritual birth certificate. You are significant to God. Some of us go through life and we've bought in and we listen to the nonsense that people may say to us, and maybe even what circumstance may present a case for, and we believe it. Now I tell you what, in the world you are not useful to God. In fact, in the world, if you're in the world, you're against God. You say, well, I don't have nothing against Jesus. No. You're either with Jesus or you're against him. See, because he is light. So you're either in the light or you're in the dark. There ain't no gray area. There's no other recourse, and there's no rainbow in it. You're either in the light or you're in the dark. We'll talk about rainbows in a little bit. I want to set it all up first, We get these ideas that there's something called super Christians. No. A super Christian is one that lets his light shine. Now see, I missed that. Lets his light shine.
Come on, Cory.
Lets his light shine. The light that we need to see in us, other people need to see through us, so they can leave spiritual darkness and come to the light of God's truth. God's love says we are the light of the world. Do you see the light within you? Do you see the light in you? I ain't nothing like I used to be, thank goodness. And I work hard not to be. And I have a goal at this same time next year not to be who I am even today, but to be better. It's like having those regular light bulbs and then you go get you some LEDs. Them regular light bulbs burn bright for a short time and burn out. But you go get an LED light bulb that lasts for years. Its illumination is so much better. I don't want to be who I am next year. But if you don't want to be who you are, then you got to make some change. You got to make some decisions to change or to grow. Some of us be having a great Christian life, and that's so awesome. And you got to make decisions to grow even better. Some of us is like happy where we at. That's the most dangerous place to be, is happy where you're at. A Christian is either growing or they're dying. There's no such thing as like that. And certainly don't say I've arrived. Be careful, you open your eyes and you've arisen at a place that you don't want to be. Is your light on? Have you even turned it on? How many times has Jesus come out of you this week? How many? I'm not talking about just asking somebody to come to church. Jesus did much more than just preach the gospel. He served, and Jesus comforted and talked and did many things, many other things other than just say, hey, get right. How many times has Jesus come out of you? If I walked up on you today, if I saw you on the street, would I see Jesus? Would I see him? Yeah. See, in order for me to see him, and then you got to get out the way and let him come through you. You got to let him out. You can't box him down under all your sorrows. You got to have trust in your victories. You can't box him down in all of your desires and things that you may get down to because you haven't gotten yet. And you got to present him with victories. When I see Jesus, man, I get so tired of walking up on Christians. How you doing? Oh, man. Oh, man. Life rough. My cat died. My gerbil. On and on and on and on. You know, a little while back, most of you know, I went through one of the most hellacious periods I could go through. I got back here. One of the reasons I came back to Chicago was I'm from here, born and raised, and I wanted to reach out to my family. My family, and I get here and then they start dropping like flies. I mean, y'all know that within a year and a few months I was at 9 funerals. I conducted all but one. I mean, there was a tendency like, Jesus, where you at? I ain't got no light in me. But Jesus has his way. Jesus has his plan. I do have family that are saved because they see that light and they made a decision. Would I want to know more about this Christ if I got in your presence? This is serious stuff. Is your light on? Some of you, your light wasn't on when you came to church today. And I tell you, song leaders, you got to help turn on some lights. Let's wake them up. Give me some energy. I'm saying to you Christians, they turn your light on. Turn your light on. It's a dark place. Don't make church dark. Don't make the church dark. If nothing else, we need to be like Motel 6, where we always have the light on. And it can be seen from a dark road. Secondly, is the light guiding you? Is the light guiding you? You don't light. You don't light it at all. You just show it. You just uncover it. And you just make sure there's nothing in between you and the light. Jesus says, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. You don't get saved and retreat indoors and hide your light. We are to be lighthouses, not dark houses. We're to be like the city built on a hill. Now the word built literally means to be placed or planted. Now in the first century, when someone took over a land, they didn't have bulldozers like we do. So what they do, they reduce those homes or reduce whatever was there to rubble and build right on top of it. And thus, the foundation became that. And eventually cities would be on a hill from the way they built. And so whether you went to a city in the daytime with the light shining off the limestone that they used of the houses, or at nighttime when those houses were lit by candles and torches, the city could be easily seen. Just like a city will be placed or built on a hill is exactly what God does with us. There's no coincidence that you work where you work, do a particular kind of work in a particular kind of office, live in a particular neighborhood, or go to a particular school, or play on particular teams, or have clubs or different activities that you particularly participate in. Say that 3 times real fast. Everywhere you are, you have been put there by God, like a city on the hill, to shine the light of the gospel. Every place you are. We are not put under a bowl when God saves us. This is not where we're put. All of us have lighting in our house for a simple reason. One simple reason. We don't want to sit in the dark, or we don't want to stay in the dark. Likewise, God does not send us into our dark neighborhoods and into this dark world for it to stay that way. There are many ways, guys, that we can show our light. How we service in our communities. How we pray for those around us and with those with them. As we open our mouths and share our faith. Yes, as we give our funds and even our missions funds. I do want to speak to that, because in the missions, I want us to feel awesome about what we're doing. Yes, it's tough. For those of you visiting us, we have a hefty mission that we do every year. But as Jen said, and I really appreciate Jen laying that out for us, it is to share this light and to keep this light burning. That's what it's about. But that is what Christians do. Now, someone may not be able to see your light burning from here in Chicago, but would help light another fire abroad. It's important that we understand that, because you'll struggle with doing this. That's one of the things that hurts my heart. I mean, I'm the same as all of you guys. I give mine. I do the same thing. I've never asked you to do one thing that I do not do. There's no special deal for you and a lesser deal or a bigger deal for me. It's the same thing. We all get the same heaven, the same place with God. When we get to heaven, we get to be at his feet. We get to worship him. We get to go holy, holy like the angels. We get all of that. And nobody's getting a bigger portion. Nobody. You get there, you in. You got your room in the mansion. Period. But I do think we've got to get this on straight. And so I want to challenge you, charge you to let your light shine through these missions. Each of your regions have their goals. Meet that goal. That goal is not arbitrary. That goal is by design of what is needed. I don't get to go buy a new car, taking mine in for service, and I'm going to drive it till the wheels drop off. It's almost 10 years old. That's cool enough, right? Let your light shine. Is your light shining beyond you? Now, in order to do it, you need to hold it up high. These are ways we can do it. Light shines brightest in the darkest time. Things that we have are challenging. Light shines in the darkest areas, shines the brightest in the darkest places. But you got to hold it up high. It says, you're the light of the world. A town built on the hill cannot be hidden. Neither do you put the lamp under the bulb. Instead, put it on its stand. Put it high. And it gives light to everyone in the house. In order to shine your light brightly, you must stand up tall with it. That means to be bold. Bold. I love some of the signatures from some of the emails that come to me. They end them. A lot of the World Secular guys and everything. They have a new one. It's bold and unashamed. Bold and unashamed. How do you feel? Bold and unashamed. You need to shine brightly. You work with people, you walk with people who have no time for God, whose heart is not even remotely near him. And you become intimidated. Let me encourage you, don't let darkness intimidate you. Light is never afraid of darkness. Darkness is afraid of light. No matter how dark your surroundings are, the light of your light should burn. And believe it or not, it's not your light anyway. If you have your spiritual birth certificate, it's the light of Jesus. Stop being afraid. Stop being afraid. This church has a mission to be a light to this city. To be a light to this city. To have good deeds. To serve. To take care of one another. Let me ask you, who do you take care of in the church? You're waiting for a phone call? You waiting for one? How many you make? Encourage your brothers, your sisters, those that shepherd you, lead you, that work hard and pray hard on your behalf. Encourage them. Sometimes it rains and it's hard for the light to stay lit. And they need a little shelter. Look around you. Your brothers and sisters in the same fight. Same trials, tribulations. Same circumstances on various levels. Not much different. We get up. We work hard. We take care of our children. We love our wives. We love our husbands. We work to be pure in a world that's so impure. We have to make a living in an economy that's hard to do. Shouldn't we encourage and be light to one another? See, he's talking to the disciples and let your light shine. Let your light shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Oh yeah. Come on now. Come on. Your light, one, you have to see it inside you. Two, it has to guide your way. And three, it has to shine beyond you. That's the world, that's the whole thing that we're after. And Jesus is talking to everybody. And why must we do these things? He closes out and concludes this verse 16 passage. He says, in the same way, let your light shine before others. We do this, not for us, that they may see your good deeds. Oh, they see that you are truly who you say you are. And they glorify who? It's to God's glory that we do these things. It is why our light is to shine, that others may see Jesus is in us, and that his Father in heaven will be glorified. Some of y'all need to relight your light. You need the fuel of Scripture. You need the fuel of prayer. And you need the fuel of your salvation.